Fable, you just finished playing your first set up against Elevate. Didn't go the way you were probably planning on, but first of all, talk to me about how you felt that set went for you guys.
We controlled the early game really well, but I feel like we messed up in the mid game on wards and grouping in general.
And just let the game slip away from us, which was unfortunate, but yeah.
Didn't control objectives properly.
So what's y'all's plan to try and rectify that going into this next set up against whoever ends up coming down? Because I think other than that, like really just like making sure y'all are on the objectives, you look real good.
Yeah.
Just more discipline in game. Make sure we're calling out what we want to do. We want to group up and ward together.
All right, cool. So at the moment, we're actually watching live going on behind the scenes Astral Authority versus Rivals going on. Who are you expecting to face in the lower bracket after this set?
It's looking like Astral right now. Yeah. Like the way Rivals playing is just lights out. Like
they want to win. Just so we know, because the games could still keep going. But Astral, obviously your scrim partners as well, I guess, with Rivals. So you've seen a lot of these guys behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, like they're a great team, and like they want this. They really want this LAN. Like every single one of them, and it's
probably Astral.
Wishing them well. Yeah.
Now, is there one that you prefer to play between Rival and Astral? Like maybe you feel like you have a better matchup, or just you want to see how you'd stack up? Is there a team that you'd prefer to play?
I think we prefer to play Astral because Rival know us so well. Even though we're scrim partners, they know us better than we know them.
Yeah.
So I feel like the only way we win is with surprises, which is what we against Astral.
Awesome. My final question: how are you guys enjoying the States? Is it one of your first times over here? Have you guys been before?
For me, it's my first time ever in America, my first LAN, and it's amazing. Like even though we lost, I still had so much fun. Like it's great games.
So it's just been fun for you boys?
Yeah, it's been perfect, honestly.
Awesome. Well, good luck for the rest of the day. Congratulations on getting this far so far, getting to that in the first place. We'll speak to you later on.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, that was two of the boys from Fable. Unfortunately, they were incorrect. It's not Astral they're going to be facing. It will be their European brethren. Agro's going to be joining me on the desk for the remainder of the day to break some of these games down. And boy, EU, they still didn't do it, but they look better.
They look better. They're close. They're getting there. Rival probably feels like they should have gotten there against Astral Authority. I mean, Fable did better than I think any of us really expected from them in their games against Elevate. Now, these two teams have been scrim partners leading up to this LAN. I wonder if, Rival dominated this team online. But on LAN, Rival coming off a bad loss, Fable feeling probably more confident than they would expect going in after their set against Elevate. Maybe there will be something there, and Fable can catch Rival sleeping.
Well, I will say you saw Fable in the interview. They're not too confident about this one because they are scrim partners with Rival. And I don't think they've necessarily... I mean, they've got to have some sort of plans, but how well they're going to come through for themselves could be a bit of a story here.
That's the problem, right, is you get really good practice against a team like Rival, but then when you have to go against them, what do you have in the pocket that they haven't seen, that they haven't worked against, and what hasn't, you maybe failed against them, but you still feel like you could have done it against a different sort of squad. It's going to be difficult for Fable here. There's no doubt about it. I think that the best possible situation for them, though, is that they had a better than expected set against Elevate.
Sure.
And Rival just came off a bad loss against Astral Authority. So maybe Rival's reeling a little bit, maybe not in it totally mentally quite yet. This is their opportunity, I think, if you're on Fable, to try and get Rival before they're mentally there.
Well, as we're heading into picks and bans now, the one thing I want to ask you, Ryan, really is, who are the two players, one on each team, to really look for to stand out in this one? There's a lot of names on Rival that you could probably mention, but if you had to pick one specifically from there.
Man, Fly played so well, and I think that he's going to have to step up because the other two teams in North America, I'm looking at Crimson and I'm looking at Baronic. Those are stars for both of those rosters, and I think the mid laners are going to be really, really critical to make sure that you can keep pace there. He did in Game 2, looked great, didn't have the best performance in Game 1, and I think that's why Rival ended up a little bit short. And so by extension, I'm looking at Waldrom on the side of Fable. How well can those two mid laners stack up against one another? Auzrik as well has had a lot of LAN experience on the console side of things. I think mid-jungle for both of these teams is going to be the critical point to play around.
We mentioned mid and jungle. A couple of mid and jungle bans, at least Zeus from Fable and Circuit from Rival. Terra up and available. Do we expect to see some Terra here?
I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, I think it's certainly the best first pick available right now, but Rival played against it pretty well in their set against Astral Authority, so maybe that could dissuade Fable a little bit here, could throw them towards something like the Chulainn that Predators played very well.
Yeah, let's find out then. Fable going to have a long, hard think about this one. As we said, scrim partners EU versus EU, and the loser of this set, unfortunately will go home. The double elimination. They're both down in the lower bracket already. Winner of this has to face off against the NA, which we'll definitely, well, potentially see a rematch between the two. But it's the Odin first pick here.
I mean, Odin pretty good against Terra. We'll lock her in. She can't get out. Won't receive any of the healing from Earth and Fury or that Monolith. And this just screams to me, right? Like the picks and bans, this first pick Odin, it's really weird. If you're just tuning in, you're probably like, what the hell is going on? These are scrim partners, and so they know what they each want to play. It feels like these guys have been playing against each other for a very, very long time, and I think the picks are indicative of that.
As someone as yourself who knows a little bit more about the console scene, is a Wheelix an option? Because one thing I always look at with an Odin, if you go for an early Odin, you're like, well, we're going to take leaps now, boys, to get out of that ring. And if you do that, someone like a Wheelix in the jungle can be impactful. But is it so on the console?
I think so. I mean, that's when I was playing and Odin was still a prevalent top pick back then. We loved to pick Odin, or have other teams pick Odin, then we just pick a Willish and you know, do whatever we want to that Odin, because he has a lot of not so many options to get around that. Now, it doesn't look like Rival want to go for it. Kuang and Ravana are two great picks, though, that if you're not so worried about pulling the Odin back in, you can chase him down. Both of these can get out of that cage. Ravana will need to use his ultimate, but even in that cage, he's got overhead kick to keep himself alive. I think that despite not going for a Willish, these are two great picks for Rival.
It's funny because Fable's first pick screams aggression. However, Rival go, well, double aggression.
Yeah.
And now it's back to Fable to answer back what Rival have just drafted.
Terra has got to be at least an option here for Fable. I mean, you pick the Odin to kind of dissuade Rival from taking it. That's successful, and now you got to be able to take something away. Waldrom has a really good Giannis. He played it against their set in their set against Elevate and looks pretty good doing it. I think Giannis Terra are two pretty solid picks here, though. Giannis doesn't bring that same mage follow-up you often want. For Odin Cage, you're looking for the Zeus, the Vulcan, the guaranteed damage inside that ring. But instead, it's going to be double Hunter here. Fable really going for that aggression.
Interesting. So more than likely, Waldrom with the Hachiman in the mid lane. Sorry, the Ullr in the mid lane, I should say. And Davey going to be having that Hachiman once again. The dual lane from Fable did look good against Elevate earlier on. They put a bit of a beat down onto the boys of Elevate, but it wasn't to be. Terra does go through to Rival, however. Not the greatest against the ring aggro, but it's still a very good pick.
Who cares, man? It's still Terra. You still get that ultimate. Even if you're not getting the healing from inside the cage, it'll still hit everyone outside the cage. You can still apply that damage debuff to Odin and put the stones on him for your teammates to pop and deal damage to him. You could pick every god that counters Terra in the books, and I would still be tempted to pick her. Her ultimate is that good.
50-meter fly really getting focused on in this band section by Fable. Zeus, Giannis, Raijin, all mage focused towards the midline. So where's Fly's next go-to? If you think about his situation here, Scylla could be an option just because of the escape from an Odin ring. There's not many mages with that ability, especially with Giannis and Raijin taken out.
Raijin is definitely the other one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Scylla's probably tempting right now for Fly, but do you really want to give up that much pressure in the mid lane against the Ullr? I mean, Scylla's going to get out pressured by everything as is. Then you add in the fact that Ullr is kind of the de facto pressure mid laner right now.
Discordia maybe?
Discordia would be a solid pick here. You can get out of that Odin cage with that third ability. I think that'd be a great pick.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be the Rama, first of all. So Rival really going to allow 50-meter fly to see the whole composition. They're up against Henderson. Ow, Kuang. Hello, friend.
I was wondering if there was going to be a magical jungler here for Fable to to balance the magical and physical damage on their team. Alongside the Khepri, it's going to be difficult to lock him down. It's going to be difficult to kill him. You're guaranteeing yourself an execute if there's a low target. You toss the Khepri ult on him. You're either surviving and not getting the execute or getting the execute because of it with the extra movement speed. I actually really like this from Fable. This is the type of composition that can beat a team like Rival.
Auzrik's going to have a really rough time in this jungle, though. I mean, he's playing the Kuang first of all, but he's against the Terra, and Terra's sustained. She does have that heal over time with the ultimate being used, and if you can get baited into a bad fight with that, you may not find the execute. Rival, though, having to really think. That's 50-meter fly on your screen now. Trying to work out exactly what the correct pick is here. Is there a correct pick?
I think it is Discordia. I think Discordia is the correct pick here. It's a good matchup into Kuang because you could use your ultimate for CC immunity to stop yourself from getting executed. And that unruly magic, all those little balls that explode, can easily end up breaking that stealth. Exactly, for a low health Kuang trying to get away or something like that. Agni is a comfort pick for Fly, and I think it's very strong in this meta. It does scare me a little bit with no CC immunity against the Kuang. Can easily chase you down out of your dash, and he really gets shut down pretty easily by the Odin ring, but I still don't mind that pick. I know I just went into 3 reasons why it's not great, but I still think that Agni is strong enough, and in someone who positions as well as 50-meter fly usually does, I'm not too worried about this Agni pick for him. It's not my favorite, but I don't hate it.
I was going to say, I think Rival's comp here is going to be a lot down to 50-meter flying Vaporish Coast, splitting the difference in the backline.
Yes.
The rest of the team going to be diving in. They have to make sure they're not stood on each other, because if they are, it's an easy clump-up situation for Fable to find kills.
But, I mean, Fable doesn't have a lot of AoE. That's what you have to keep in mind, is like, this is Odin Cage. You get everyone in a great area, and you follow up with Heavenly Banner? It's mounted archery. It's those sorts of things. It does. There's not a lot of synergy between Odin and the rest of the composition. If that's a soul laner that can isolate someone very easily and set up for it, I think I like this comp a little bit better. It seems like Fable was like, yo, what if we did this comp? It's really good. Oh, yeah, we first picked Odin. Oh, well, whatever. We're just going to go with it.
Take out of the ring out of the equation, but think about the rest of Odin's kit. I mean, the Bird Bomb is a lot of burst damage.
Sure.
Ullr, a lot of burst damage. Hachiman, same could be said. And then now Kuang, maybe it's just burst damage and we're just looking at the ring a little bit more so than we should.
I mean, it's kind of there's not a lot of CC there to set up for this burst damage, and that's why I think that having an ultimate that would have brought CC, that's an Erlong Shen or something like that, that could end up working out a little bit better, I think. But I mean, the cage is pseudo CC, right? Like, you're not locking someone down right away, but you are keeping them close enough.
Who do you think's going to win?
Rival.
Let's find out. Let's get into the casters. Game 1 underway.
Thank you, Hinderman. Thank you, Aggro, Finch, and Tolly here on the call. Fable going up against Team Rival. And who do you think here will win this game? Vote for us, please, in Mixer chat, as all of Fable have grouped up in the jungle and are looking around. Not really going to find much, but you heard them talking a little bit, Tolly, about these compositions.
Outside the compositions alone, I think Rival are more angry after that loss than Fable is. They're more warmed up. There was some downtime for Fable after their first set, so they're a little bit cooled down now. And I think that Rival can easily step it forward as long as Auzrik doesn't pop off on this Kuang. Has a lot of carry potential in the later stages of the game.
Well, based on what we saw in their first set with Fable, Auzrik certainly has the potential to get that done, and Kuang is a god that can get that done, especially if he starts off strong very early. He can feel so difficult because he has so much burst. He can execute those tankier targets too and really shut down a lot of what you want to do.
I would love to see him start ganking out Predators. That physical versus physical warrior lane matchup. Right. Obviously, it's a race to see who's going to get that physical defense first. So once you're now Kuang all of a sudden ganking somebody with physical defense, well, now you're just licking your chops and be like, all right, this is a tasty meal.
Coming over to Predators and maybe having an easy time considering he does the magical damage in the jungle. Already, though, Predators and Chronic kind of boxing it out a little bit, as instead we see Rapio come over towards the speed, grab that, come to drop a blue buff for them. Predators is low already, but is about to transform, so Chronic is going to back off on that one. Actually, Predators is going to keep coming up further. He's ready to fight in this rage form.
He's not worried at all. Even though the Kuang is that magical damage dealer, you don't have to worry about it at level 1. Unless you see him with an early blink, then you should probably be worried about sitting at 25% health. Regardless, though, everything is all okie dokie, as both soul laners getting their blue.
It looks like, though, Fable were able to get the out clear and go up for the invade on the red buff of Team Rival. See that one being dropped and see it around Davey there. The Hachiman pick as DineOhSaw. Trying to go over and look for an invade here himself. Killing got to get right on out of there and head back over to lane. Meanwhile, Waldrom's going to make the rotation over. They'll be able to secure their own red, so that is a tiny win for Fable on the duo side of the map.
The interesting thing about duo lane for both of these teams is that's where their strengths really lie. We saw it in the first set where Davey and Killy both got first bloods in that laning phase, whereas Rival obviously really heavily relying on Vaporish Coast being able to outbully the opposition. Last set specifically was up against Kobe that struggled a little bit, forced to go into the Xingwei in game 2 just to avoid some of that early aggression. But these two teams, when you're consistent scrim partners, that you get into each other's heads and mentalities, and that's why both of these teams kind of playing with fire, trying to push up on the lane.
No, you're right. We heard Team Rival kind of, or rather Fable, talk to that a little bit, you know, in their interview, saying that they kind of would rather face Astral just because Rival knows them so well at this point, right? I think they said a little bit better even than they know themselves. There's a little bit of joking there, but certainly Rival are going to be familiar with this matchup, and I think we've seen already that familiarity coming up in Fable's favor as they were able to get that invade.
And that's important to avoid if you're Fable, considering that they came in here as a second-seeded European team. There's a reason why Rival have always had their number. They're just always one step above Fable, but this is a different scenario than it has been the past 4 weeks. of the open bracket LAN tournament. At LAN setting, anything goes, and Fable have a hard reset.
This is good, though. 50-meter fly is going to be here right for the respawn. Meanwhile, Auzrik looking for the gank attempt onto Predators. And there's 3 members here coming over the wall as Waldrom. Axe stun lands. First blood to Fable and onto the mid lane Ullr as well to make matters worse.
Predators just in no man's land. That was an easy 1v3. Even if Waldrom hadn't made that rotation up against a level 4 Kuang, you're not level 5 Chulainn, so you're not going to be able to get the knockup with your ultimate or the war cry. And ChronicTheBros was literally right around the corner to make that rotation. Caught between a rock and a hard place. First blood, easy peasy for Waldrom. Now building into the Transcendence. His physical power is going to go through the roof against an Agni that's trying to get that health. The out-clear potential should favor Fable.
Pretty strongly for Waldrom there in the mid lane. You talked about Predators being out of position. I mean, if it were any other player, I might say that I'm surprised, but Predators has clearly shown us throughout the split and even here in this tournament that he's not afraid to go play aggressive. Usually, he's a little bit further ahead, right, and got some tankiness established, but Predators is definitely not afraid to go look for the fight and try and put his will on the opponent.
I would always want to have a player that's overly aggressive than that is too afraid to make certain plays, because you can always dial down the aggression. Hold that thought, though. Auzrik trying to look for another kill.
Predators once again forced to do the 2v1, but this time he could be in a little bit more trouble than last. That almost did it there with the ultimate. Auzrik can't quite hunt him down. So Predators is going to be able to survive the gank. Not too much committed from Fable trying to make that happen.
Very confident in his mechanics. The timing of the Warcry from Predators, negating the execute from Auzrik. Great counter action. Not going to be able to build up any of those Kuang stacks where we were kind of taking shots at the Chulainn Sole. Now we're going to be praising him for his use of mechanics. And I was going to mention how I would rather have an aggressive player, because you can always peel that aggression back a little bit, than a non-confident player, because teaching somebody confidence is way more difficult than teaching somebody to peel it back.
Just a little bit of restraint is all they'd ask from Predators, and like you said, that's much easier to be done. But Predators, man, it kind of feels like you can just let this guy loose and he makes good things happen, like being able to survive the 2v1 gank from Auzrik coming over to the solo lane. And he's probably going to keep looking for it. We highlighted it earlier. It's not a too difficult lane for him to gank. How much longer, though, is he going to be able to viably try and come threaten out this Chulainn, though?
Up until the second item is available. The second item probably going to be physical defense for Predators. If I were to guess, Gladiator Shield just to continue the aggression. If it really wants to mix it up, I would go into the hide tree, or the, like, not the height of the Neon line, but height of the Urchin potentially.
Sure.
Something to give you both physical and magical defense, because if I'm Predators, I'm expecting Auzrik to really camp my lane.
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. It's gone well for him so far. They've been able to get 1 kill already and force Predators out with the second rotation, but it has not deterred him. He's once again coming down, looking for aggressive warding on the blue buff, perhaps even setting up for an invade just to have the information if he does want to come down and look for it.
It's very important that he actually dropped the ward inside those back right camps, so he'll see at Auzrik, and Auzrik's in the mid lane alongside Waldrom, because it's ChronicTheBros making the rotation.
Dash gets him out of there, but now he's locked inside the cage. Not going to be much rage in that cage, though, as Chronic just kind of backs away. DineOhSaw and Rapio are here. Predators even makes the rotation over, but I don't think there was as much of a fight as Rival might have been expecting. Everyone just kind of backs off.
I thought that they could have continued to chase down, but 2 members not being able to make the impact there. It was only really Rapio that could continue the chase since he was outside the cage. Even though the ultimate was used to try to find the pick onto 50-meter fly, it was still very successful for the escape after the failed attempt.
Now, this is one of the things that Aggro brought up on the desk. They don't have a ton of traditional follow-up to the Odin ring, right? Like, normally you think you want to put a big mage ultimate on top of them. Is there enough value just in locking them there, saying they can't run away? Or do they have the follow-up to make that work?
It's definitely worth it, because, number one, you're forcing out an early Phantom. Even if you don't have the follow-up as a Hou-Yi or a Zeus or whoever, as ChronicTheBros gets chipped away slightly in that solo lane. What you're really looking for is that relic forceage. You're forcing them into the Phantom. You even might be forcing them into a second Phantom if that's the way Rival want to pan things out. Because 50-meter fly is going to be a huge component towards team fighting for Rival. They want the Agni bomb stuns, and if he's not a factor in those team fights, well, then Rival are just fighting 4-on-5 at that point.
They can try and keep 50-meter fly, then Fable will be in a good spot. One way they can do that is repeatedly trying to take his red buff, which they can send 4 people to go make sure happens. Waldrom has to use the beads to avoid getting caught out by DineOhSaw here, trying to confirm his own red buff this time after they've already gone and stolen one away from Team Rival. So yet again, Fable have control of both red buffs on this duo side of the map.
And surprisingly, even though FableGG, they first picked the Odin. And all these picks from Rival after the fact were a little bit of a dash-oriented. You're looking at Agni, Terra, and the Rama.
No beads for Waldrom. Remember, he had them forced out. Over the wall with the Mystic Rush comes Rapio, and it shouldn't be too hard. But the Scarab's Blessing is here. That means that Waldrom can't be committed on just yet. Root going to create up separation. Killy coming up big, keeping Waldrom alive.
That was so important. I don't think he had the overhead kick to be able to get away from that axe stun, dropping a kill, but forcing so many things in response. The Scarab's Blessing, the sprint as well. It's a long cooldown. Even the beads was burned before even that whole engagement started.
That's actually a great point. I mean, they didn't commit very much to that at all, did they? Really just Rapio's ultimate, which he's going to be looking to use anyway. Now they come for the collapse on top of the speed buff. Auzrik is in the stealth form, so he's going to be able to get away. They're not going to be able to take the speed from him either, but they're still looking for damage. Waldrom low, doesn't have very many relics available at all, as Chronic now trapped between 3.
50-meter fly needed to land those bomb stuns, landing onto 2 as Predators in the backline. He's about to transform. Earth and Fury goes through, but Predators gets eliminated.
Chronic takes him down, but not before 50-meter fly finds one for himself. DineOhSaw now looking for the dash, trying to find his way out, but Auzrik not going to let him. 50-meter fly, double kills, takes down Davey as well. 2 for 2 so far, and Rapio wants to try and take things not so even. Auzrik could be in trouble. Aegis keeps 50-meter fly standing, and it's enough for Rapio to take Auzrik down. Waldrom rotates in, but gets punched in the face. Double kill now for Rapio as well. Chronic takes down 50-meter fly, and it's a bloodbath.
There was a 3 for 3 as Killy could not make the rotation happen there. That Scarab's Blessing was not even available as they had to use it onto Waldrom earlier on. Rapio tried to steal away the blue buff there, but Chronic not going to let that happen. Just a clean 3 for 3, just washed away.
But that was Rival, though. Rival was like that guy in the bar who's looking for a fight. It felt like just now they were down in the jungle by the speed buff of Fable, forcing them into that commitment. Even underneath the tier 2 tower, when it kind of looped back around, they were trying to drop some damage onto Waldrom with 50-meter flies, rain fire. So they had the damage, but they just weren't able to get that fight done cleanly.
He dropped, I think, all his bombs over that mid-tiered 1 tower, but he missed about 2 of them, and that's what really separated that team fight. That team fight should have been handily Rival's favor, considering all those defensive relics and ultimates not available. Scarab's Blessing and the sprint and the beads from Waldrom. So Waldrom was clearly the target. They wanted to find the speed buff invade as a result, but Waldrom jumps one way and then Auzrik stealths away the other. It was a lot of confusion for Rival to stick to one target. So I think next time around, they're going to hard commit onto Waldrom after the jump.
Predators again coming down to the jungle looking for Auzrik. Finds him, but the dash able to get him on out of there. Usually, though, Totally, we see that kind of aggression around objectives, right? If you're looking for a brawl, then you go start Goldfury and force it to respawn, or go start Pyro. Rival just like kind of went to their house and knocked on the door.
The thing is, this kind of style reminds me of North America PC, forcing these fights around the smaller objectives, whereas Europe and the PC will go for the Gold Fury objectives. However, console never got that memo. They want to fight.
Could be trouble for Vaporous Coast. He tries to turn around and take the fight, but it's 2v1. Davey gets the last hit, puts Vaporous Coast down. 5-4 now for Fable in the kill column, even though they're a little bit behind in gold. Not going to be able to get all these oracles either. Those are split.
Now, Auzrik is not getting super ahead from these ganks, but he's making these rotations fruitful. He is sitting at 1-1 and 4, same level as Rapio at this point. But the thing is, he's not getting denied to the point that he's not going to be a factor. He will definitely start swinging things for Fable around this level 14 marker.
Fable certainly have some power spikes coming. They're grouping around the Gold Fury, though. And I think this is going to be the call. It looks like there is a Fable ward here. So I believe Fable recognized it. And looks like the rotation's coming in. Waldrom's on his way. Killy going to be here as well, as Gold Fury's now at half health. And Team Rival instead give it up. Not going to be able to find the stun either. So once Fable showed someone was home, Rival just leaves.
Vaporous Coast was a little too far away. He got the tier 2 Executioner. Still needs to work on those Devil Glove stack. Sitting at about 69 of that. But he's 17 points ahead of Davey in the stacking department. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's another power spike that they're really waiting on.
Yeah, once he's able to get that finished off, it should be strong. Don't forget that Vaporous Coast just took a bunch of damage, and duo as Waldron could be in trouble yet again. Forced into a bad situation in the mid lane. He does, though, hold on to the beads. and is able to jump right on out of it.
That's the one downfall of Ullr. Without any sort of natural CC
They're looking at
immunity,
gold again.
You got to be looking for at least forcing out the beads there. They will try to go for the Gold Fury for a second attempt with Vapourish right around the corner.
Davy's here, so he can try and contest this one if he chooses, but not going to be an easy task. Chronic is here as Auzrik as well, but Gold Fury is already down. Chronic wants to jump in, and the horse is coming out as well. Rapio is definitely an execute threshold, but it's DineOhSaw who gets taken up into the air. Rapio falls to Chronic as well. 2 members die, but Team Rival get the Gold Fury.
Favorable trade, I think, for Fable if they can get anything afterwards. They're going to grab a Tier 1 tower guaranteed. The question lies, where should they go after? Tier 2, looking tempting. Pyromancer, not the most gold in the world, but they're not distracted with Predators.
Predators teleports in, but it's into the Goon squad of FableGG, who immediately start collapsing on him. He does have the ultimate available, trying to set up for Vapourish Coast to find the shots, but Predator falls. Not before Auzrik, though, gets traded out in kind. Chronic and Killy are the front line, so they should be okay. They only lose 1, and Predators dies as well.
Vapourish missing that 3rd snipe, so important. And I'm really surprised how ham Predators has been going this entire game, honestly. My man's just dove onto 5 of them. Now, granted, he did force out the ultimate as well. His player damage is almost double the next one, which is Chronic, sitting at 6,000. And honestly, he could have got out if he really wanted to, but trading his life for Auzrik, I like this idea. Now it shuts down the farming a little bit of enemy jungler, allowing Rapio some freedom to maybe get some momentum under himself.
They do grab the Pyromancer on the back end of that as the Cage is going to trap it. Vapourish Coast way over in solo lane. Very little mana, forced to use the Aegis. If he has the roll available, might be able to get that done. DineOhSaw's rotating over, jump though to avoid getting stunned. Vapourish Coast is out of there, and now the root's going to land. Chronic probably not in too much trouble. Important story here is they saved Vapourish Coast's life.
Very important there. They'd have to use the Aegis to avoid that Raven Shield explosion. Very nice timing out of the young Hunter coming from Rival. They've been always solid about leaning on him in the true time of need, so protecting him there allows him to still maintain that 1 level advantage he has over Davy.
And he's really been favoring this crit build. His 50-meter fly, he does dash out of there, so it looks like he'll be okay. But Vapourish Coast has been favoring this crit build, I feel like, all tournament long. Is that just a style choice for Vapourish Coast, or a matchup thing? Is it something that's just stronger than going to attack speed pen?
I think he just wants to straight up out 1v1 the opposition, because in Game 3, against the North American Astral Authority, he was against Jingwei, and he still went crit.
Right.
And that's a little questionable. There was no Crusher in that build to augment his abilities.
Auzrik's already been deleted, though. Rapio gets the kill. Killy's going to fall as well. Double now for Rapio on the Robin jungle for Team Rival. And they're looking for a little bit more. Davy is going to need to retreat here sooner rather than later. There's not even a Tier 1 tower for him to fall back to. Mystic Rush comes out, but the horse gets him out as well.
Mounted archery was a crucial necessity to avoid the stickiness out of that one. Waldrom going to jump away for the moment, but Predators is going to knock him up.
Catches him at the tail end of it, but there's not immediate follow-up. Vapourish Coast. Can he find the shot? He can't. Waldrom just barely able to make it out of there, but they get the Tier 2 tower anyway. Team Rival now up about 5,000, 4,400-ish gold, 4,000 experience. They started to move firmly into control here.
You could just feel the tension here between these two teams as they take shots at each other. Kind of like two boxers in a ring going into like about the 7th or 8th round here. Towers crumbling one after another. They lost their Tier 1 middle about 5 minutes ago, and Rivals now returning the favor with a nice little gold lead. Not too much here, but considering that it's 16 minutes, 5,000 gold, it's something to build off of.
Yeah, I think it's certainly something that Fable will at least feel. They've got some experience to go along with it, a level and a half or so, right around 2 that 50-meter fly has in the mid lane, around that same mark for Rapio over Auzrik. And remember, Auzrik had that good start to the game too, punishing the solo lane over here, trying to take down Predators, but Rival has done such a good job responding.
Rival is definitely the more experienced team, a lot of these members being to more lands than the opposite of Fable. It's mostly been Auzrik, I think, out of Fable that's been to the most lands for that squad. So he needs to kind of share his experience with the younger ones and be like, okay, yes, we fell behind in the lower bracket early. Yes, we're against our scrim partners that normally get the better of us, but this is going to be a clean slate for us. So let's get things that we're comfortable with. Let's come up with a strategy that we can really execute. And so far, it's been working out for Fable. Even though they are struggling a little bit, they're not out of it. And their late game threats are super concerning. You have a lot of damage from Auzrik and a lot of safety, more importantly, from Killy.
That's right. I mean, Waldrom, Davey, and Auzrik are all certainly potent late game threats. If they can make it to that point, if they can get those builds online, the real question here is, will Team Rival allow them to do that? As Gold Fury's respawning, DineOhSaw, 50-meter flying Predators are all here. They might be looking to try and establish some control around this area right now. Killy is watching it all happen, but what can he do?
He's going to root Predators, forcing him to salmon leap away, as Oracles are going to be the attention out of Rival. Bomb stun not going to connect quite yet. Still going to go for it. This time it will connect onto Killy, and they take him out even before Scarab's Blessing was a factor.
They take him down quickly. Remember, Chronic is still not here. It's been a 5v4 essentially. The whole fight is now they try and collapse on the Waldrom, and they do. DineOhSaw takes that hit. Still, Chronic has not yet had a chance to have an impact. In fact, if they recognize where he is, they might have a chance to turn around onto him. No real chance to slow them down. Rival gets 2 kills and the Gold Fury.
Tried to go for a little bit more. They're leaning towards the right side of the jungle. Rival are not content with just the objectives on the left. They're either waiting for this respawn of the Pyromancer, or Waldrom being dead for another 15 seconds will immediately pull the fire.
And they know where Auzrik is too, dropping the bomb on him just for good measure. Rotating in is Chronic, but he has a bad squad following up in behind him. Chronic gets rooted down and basically deleted. He is able to find the jump. A 50-meter fly chases him down without any issues. Now they head back towards the Fire Giant. Davey is around. Auzrik is around. So is Killy. But every time they walk in, they've just been getting shredded.
Oh no, Killy is the next victim. Already less than half health. Forced to use that defensive ultimate on himself. Even the sprint just for good measure. He's going to revive right where he fell. Falls for a second time. 2 victims for FableGG, and Team Rival can go right back to the fire.
And I like that. Vaporous Coast stayed here with Predators on the Fire Giant, using the ultimate to commit from the Fire Giant pit. Now they can go right back to burning the objective. Fire Giant going to go the way of Team Rival, and all 5 members. Really nothing Waldrom and Auzrik can do here except grab a little bit of farm and retreat. Rival have looked so clean this game.
And Fable need to start collecting themselves. This is getting a little out of control too quickly, because not even 2 minutes ago, they're only down about 5,000-6,000 gold. But with a Rival squad that has this much of a lead, experience, and gold department, you add a Fire Giant to the mix. Well, now they're going to strip away these last 2 remaining Tier 2 towers, get another 3,000 gold, work on some of your Phoenixes once they get those 5th items, and Fable is struggling just to get their 4th items online.
And Fable is struggling to keep up with the Rival, not just in a team fighting standpoint, but in a decision-making standpoint, it feels like at this point, totally, because Fable can't. They didn't even have all 5 members there to help defend on the Gold Fury. When that ended up happening, instead it was the 4v4. Chronic never even made it in time. As we do have the pause out, we're going to work on getting everything situated here for our players. You can see him here on the screen. Looks like Cooper's there working with him, but it looks like to me that right now what's happening is that Rival's doing a better job deciding where to put pressure on the map.
It definitely feels that way, that Rival are the one dictating the pacing. They are the the European #1 seed. To be able to dominate means that they have the number coming out of FableGG. There's just not much that they have been able to experiment with, I think, leading up to those 4 weeks. But with the land strategies that they've been able to employ, I think that they had the right idea with the Kuang, but they couldn't really get it off the ball. They didn't really lean on Predators enough in that laning phase to get the stacks online a little bit earlier. And some of these team fights were starting to get a little out of control. Rival between the Agni, between the Terra. This is the point of contention favoring the Chaos squad.
Well, it looks like everything's back okay with the players. They're back in the game now. And totally, I think you're exactly right. I give credit to Predators on that, because they did sit on him a bit at the early game, but he survived that two-man gank early, the one that you pointed out where he uses the ultimate to avoid getting executed. I mean, imagine if they start the ball rolling there with that kill. Could that have changed the flow of this game? I mean, I certainly think so.
Definitely would have been the case, and fortunately for Fable also, they didn't make anything of the first blood that Waldrom received. Gifted to him in a little red bow and basket when Predators try to take a silly 1v3 at level 4, and hasn't really changed his playstyle yet.
No.
Rival have been thriving off of it the entire time. Vaporish Coast very close to level 20, and with the Fire Giant buff is melting these structures.
Already Tier 2 towers taken down, and Predators yet again sticking it out in the mid lane with 3 members staring at him, while the rest of his team goes to look for the Tier 2 in solo lane. And I don't think Predators as you mentioned, is ever going to change that strategy, man. He is ready to go in and fight up against 4, up against 5, and just get too many resources out of you in return.
There's just no fear out of this solo laner. Rival are leaning a lot on him to engage and create that buffer space that they need. Vaporish Coast and Fly. It's going to have that long-range artillery shots. Vaporish Coast is a little hit or miss on the ultimate side, but his basic attacks have been really solid. The accuracy there.
Looks like we could be seeing a fight here. Waldrom avoids getting stunned by DineOhSaw. Does land the root, but the whole rest of Rival is waiting around the corner. He's forced to jump out at half health, but Mystic Rush chunks him. Scarabus Blessing comes out early, and Predators hits a 4-man knock-up. No immediate follow-up, though, from the control from Predators, but DineOhSaw is there to take down Auzrik. First casualty is going to be the jungler for Fable.
Still going for more. It's going to be ChronicTheBros, the second victim for Fable. And keep in mind, it was Killy that had to use his defensive ultimate onto Waldrom that was trying to do what exactly onto DineOhSaw?
I don't know at this point.
A level 16 Terra that's 4 items deep with defensive relics. Another dead FableGG member. Make that 4. Finch.
This could be it,
This could be game 1.
It certainly could be. Davey is up on the mounted archery. Mid-Phoenix, they recognize they don't even need it. Do Team Rival. They want to make it back up to the upper bracket, and this is the first step on that path. Davey pinned down inside the fountain. Titan now at half health, and Davey just trying to box it out. Even with the heal, having trouble standing up against Vaporous Coast. Predators may have fallen to the Titan, but the game goes to Rival.
Predators just smiling there. It's just like, all right, yeah, I died again. But yeah, sacrificing himself for the greater good. They didn't even need Vaporish Coast's damage to slay that Titan. That's how far ahead they were. You see him smiling, trying to go for that last kill.
Well, we saw it a lot there in that game. We didn't get too much of a chance to talk about it because Rival moved at such a blistering pace, but they itemized so heavily into those hunters. We saw double Nemean Lion come out, the Midgardian, the Thorns, even the Lotus Crown from Terra as well to provide those extra protections. There was no way that those 2 hunters were going to be able to get their damage off.
I agree with you totally. These hunters have been staggering a little bit against other characters that are trying to counter them, but man, Vaporish Coast is definitely going to be looking for the plays onto Davey. I think there's a little bit of rivalry between these 2 teams, even though that they are scrim partners. They've been getting bested by North America to the point where they're trying to combine their efforts to overcome that.
Yeah, they're scrimming a little bit harder so they can step up against North America. But who do you think was the MVP for this game? Certainly a lot of good choices for you on this Rival squad. Everybody ended up looking good, so wouldn't want to have that tough task that you all have. Totally, who do you think was MVP?
I can't make that decision.
It's hard, isn't it?
Rapio played pretty well there. Predators, despite dying a lot of times, he set his team up for a lot of good plays. 50-meter fly in the Agni as well. I got to give it to Rapio.
Yeah, give it to Rapio. I like that pick, though, but the desk is standing by. We'll go ahead and let Hindu Man and Aggro decide.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Finch and Soli. That's a very interesting one to start the set off with. Scrappy.
Yes.
Is one word to probably describe it. Back and forth encounter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Fable got off to a fairly good start in that game. I liked Auzrik's ability to set the pace early. It's usually not what we were saying with an Kuang. Usually wants to farm up into the later stages, and maybe that's why, because it doesn't end up working out too well. But I liked his presence in multiple side lanes early on. But Predators, I mean, you heard it from the casters there. Predators kind of fell behind early, was constantly getting camped, and it didn't seem to affect his demeanor at all, consistently diving into 3, 4, 5 members of the enemy team. And I think that maybe it wasn't the best idea on paper overall, but I like that mindset from Predators, and I think Rival really benefited from it. I think that they kept their aggression up because of the way that Predators was playing.
Well, you guys at home have voted, and the MVP will go to 50-meter fly after that performance in the mid lane there. Obviously, the matchup was definitely an interesting one. We mentioned the Agni pick could be a bit risky, but it works out well.
It really did, and it again, a testament to 50-meter fly's positioning in these team fights. Look at how far away he is from everyone here.
Always
still close enough to be hitting them with the skills. He played really, really well and continues to play really, really well here today at land.
But the story about Fable so far, Ryan, it seems is screaming to me again. They get the kills. They're actually upping kills multiple times in this game. They just don't get anything after the kill. The stuff after the stuff, you know? They must have seen F-Dot for years now. Surely that should be included.
They should have learned by now, exactly. Now, it takes time to learn these sorts of things, especially, I mean, you have to learn them in practice. And then, okay, we got it down. We're good about that in scrims. Let's make sure that we do that in our league games, you know, our SCL games. Okay, we got there. Now we have to do it at LAN. And we're still kind of waiting for them to do it consistently in their actual league games, in their Global Series games, wherever it is. So I really feel like this team has a lot of potential. I've been impressed with the way that Auzrik has played during this LAN, with the way that Waldrom has played at times during this LAN. I think that these guys can end up being a contender against teams in North America and in Europe. They're still a little bit not ready quite yet. They still need more time in the oven.
Well,